Welcome to Flourish in 5. My name is Heather Lottinen, and every Friday I share a story, a lesson, or a quick idea with the goal of helping you gain a new perspective. If you could please like this episode and share it with your friends, that would be greatly appreciated. So this past Sunday, I had a breakdown. I had a situation of sorts in church, which I consider less than ideal. But the reason I'm sharing this with you is because there are several lessons, things that we can learn from this, and you can learn through my ridiculousness. So I'm sitting in church. We sit in the front pew because I love Jesus. Church is my favorite place on the entire planet to be. I love the worship songs. I love the prayers. I love the preaching. I love the hymns. I love the people. It is just absolutely where I belong. And my mom sits with me and my kids sit with me if Ella is not working. Craig is always in the back working in the sound booth. So Ella's on my left, Evan is on my right. And they can be children in church, even though they're older. And Ella was just being really challenging, obnoxious, rude to me. She was just disrespectful. And then Evan started acting strange and was really rude and disrespectful and like stupid things. Like he wouldn't hand me my Bible. And then when he opened the Bible, he wouldn't let me see it. He was just being a jerk for the sake of being a jerk, but he's 13, I'll give him that, whatever. But in my mind, let me tell you what happened in my mind. So they seemingly minor events. Ella is disrespectful. She's just mouthy. Evan acts like a jerk. Okay, whatever. And in my mind, I was like, okay, my kids are awful. My kids are awful. They are jerks. They are unkind. They are disrespectful. And I'm like chuckling at myself. I'm like, and they're my kids, which means I raised them. So what does that say about me? I raised these kids to be this way. Where did I go wrong? And I started down, I think you can see it probably because I've shared this in past episodes. I started down a shame spiral of like, I'm the worst parent on the planet because my kids are jerks. Okay. And what happened next was this one little tear leaked from my eye. And then that was it. Another tear. And then tears are just streaming down my face for the entire sermon. I couldn't get a hold of myself. I was like dabbing my eyes thinking, oh my gosh, my makeup is a mess. What are people thinking? And they probably are not thinking about me, but I'm sitting there crying in the front pew. So I'm telling myself this story that people are judging me because I'm sitting in church crying and my kids are jerks. And it just like on and on. It was so out of control. And I recognized it, but I was struggling to stop the train. And now that I'm looking back, and I should say, after church, like as we sang the last hymn and stood up, I started sobbing, like uncontrollably, like, gasping for air, sobbing. And my kids are like, they're clueless. They have no idea what I'm so upset about. And Craig comes down and he comforts me and he's like, what is wrong? And I said, I just need to go home. I just need to be away from these jerks. I can't stand them. And I left church. I was so embarrassed. And I was thinking, and I told him what happened. And when I told him, it sounded like stupid. It sounded really minor, but I exasperated the situation by building it up in my mind as to what it meant about me. And I thought, why do I have such a low threshold right now? Well, my ability to cope was diminished because I'm worried about some medical tests I'm having, and I just got other things on my mind. So again, my ability to cope with my children being jerks, it was just low. And so these little things set me off. Also, my kids can be rude and sarcastic, and I don't correct them on it all the time like I should. So I think things were built up in my mind that was like, enough, this is going to stop here and now. So I get home. Ironically, there was a book delivered right when I got home from church. It's by Jenny Allen, and it's called Get Out of Your Head. The subtitle is Stopping the Spiral of Toxic Thoughts. And it is a Christian-based book. So I dove right in. I couldn't put it down. I'm about a third of the way through, and there are a couple things that I learned. One, and this is in conjunction with therapy, is that I have a choice in my thoughts and I let my thoughts get away from me. So I actually have two Post-its I've created that I'm going to put on my bathroom mirror. One of them says, "What do you want to feel today?" And the other one says, "You have a choice." And I made a choice to go down a spiral that was very, very unhealthy. So I went back to my 4 questions. Remember, we had talked about these in previous episode. And my 4 questions are: number one, how do I turn this frustration into fascination? Number two, what am I making this mean about myself? That was actually easy for me to answer. I was making it mean that I was a loser of a mother. Number three, what's the real issue here? And number four, what decisions need to be made? Now, the area where I'm still struggling, and I felt like after a few hours of talking this out with my husband and working through this and starting the book, and I was doing some gardening, and listening to some Jesus music, I was able to work my way through the situation. But as I'm looking back, I'm trying to gain as many lessons and new perspectives as I can, because I'm always trying to learn. But there's one thing that I'm hung up on, and I'm wondering if you could help me with this, is that, okay, if my kids are disrespectful, rude, or sarcastic, yes, I need to correct them on that behavior. But there are times, I'm sure you will agree with me, where your kids do something that you think, okay, I'm not going to choose to fight that battle because it's not worth it. And I'm having a difficult time discerning, when am I being petty because I don't want to be petty, so I don't say anything? When am I being petty? Or when am I overlooking things that I really need to say something about? And I tend to go really far one direction or the other. The pendulum swings for me. I am either like, I don't correct them at all because I feel like I'm being petty and I don't want to be petty, so I don't correct them. Or I am like riding them so hard that they can't stand to be around me because it's like every word that comes out of their mouth, I correct. I am struggling, what I'm telling you today, asking for your advice. I am struggling to find the balance here, to find the line of correcting what needs to be corrected, but not every word that comes out of their mouths, because they need to be human. And sometimes the way they choose to use sarcasm is with humor. And so I get it, even though we've talked about that. I don't think it's funny. But if you have any advice for me on this subject, I'm trying to discern. It's like this in marriage too. Where are you being petty in your marriage, but where are you not speaking up where you need to? And how do you discern the difference between the two? Like, for instance, I have a friend, this is not an issue in my marriage, disclaimer, but I have a friend who was telling me her husband leaves clothes all over the floor all the time. And if Craig left something on the floor, I would just pick it up because it's just not something he does. But I suppose because I would feel like I was being petty. But I suppose if this is like an issue in your marriage that speaks to a deeper level of respect, then it needs to be addressed. So I guess what I'm saying is, in a lot of cases, it's situationally dependent, but I'm having a hard time with that anyway. I hope that you found this useful, encouraging, laughable, maybe, that I had a breakdown in church, because I don't cry very often. And maybe I need to. Maybe I need to let it out. I think I over dramatized what was going on in my mind because there was a buildup there. And I'm just wondering if that could have been prevented had I been parenting my children more along the way. I don't know. I don't have the answers to that. I'll see you in the next video.